It's been 100 years since women were promised the right to vote. That milestone came when the 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution was ratified in August of 1920. But that promise of the right to vote, for many, that promise went unfulfilled for decades, even after the 19th Amendment. One thing to know right off the bat: the familiar shorthand that the 19th Amendment gave women the right to vote? Let's scratch that. Nobody gave women anything. This was a real struggle.
It was a fight. It was a long, bitter, agonizing fight. And nothing was given.
It took George Washington 6 years to rectify men's grievances by war. But it took 72 years to establish women's rights by law.
That fight wasn't just about sex. It was also deeply entwined with race. The women's suffrage movement of the 1800s had its roots in the anti-slavery abolitionist movement, which was seeking universal suffrage. But early suffragist leaders, including Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony, would later split off from their alliance with abolitionists. They were outraged that under the 15th Amendment, black men would get the vote, while white women were still denied. And racism caused deep divisions among women in the suffrage movement itself. Prominent African-American activists like Ida B. Wells and Mary Church Terrell often found themselves marginalized by white suffragists, their concerns about racial inequities ignored.
The story of African American women has been ignored for so long because it requires grappling with the failures of people who have been considered heroes of an earlier time.
The fight to win passage of the 19th Amendment in Congress further exposed a painful truth.
Racism runs through the debates over women's suffrage, oftentimes through and through.
To win over Southern politicians, some white suffragists argued that giving women the vote would actually solidify white supremacy, because it would increase the white vote in numbers that far outweighed the black vote.
This is something that should assure other white supremacists that they will be viable in their rule.
Carrie Chapman Catt, the president of the National American Woman Suffrage Association, wrote this to a Southern congressman in 1918, trying to persuade him to vote yes on the 19th Amendment.
The present condition in the South makes sovereigns of some Negro men, while all white women are their subjects. These are sad but solemn truths. If you want white supremacy, why not have it constitutionally, honorably? The federal amendment offers the way.
Eventually, after many years of defeat, Congress passed the 19th Amendment, and the focus turned to winning states. 36 of the 48 states had to ratify the amendment before it could become part of the Constitution. By August of 1920, the suffragists had won. They got their perfect 36th state when Tennessee voted to ratify. Women had earned the right to vote across the land. But not so fast.
August of 1920 marks for African American women a start, not a finish.
In October of 1920, soon after the 19th Amendment was ratified and with a presidential election around the corner, Mary Church Terrell wrote a letter filled with foreboding about what was to come.
The colored women of the South will be shamefully treated and will not be allowed to vote, I am sure. We are so helpless without the right of citizenship in that section of the country where we need it most.
Voting restrictions in the Jim Crow South disenfranchised African Americans, women and men alike. Poll taxes, literacy tests, grandfather clauses, violence, and lynching all conspired to keep African Americans from exercising their right to vote. Other communities of color were kept from the polls for decades to come, among them Native Americans and Asian American immigrants. They were denied citizenship for years after 1920, so they still couldn't vote. And the struggle to ensure that everyone can exercise this essential democratic right, it continues 100 years after the 19th Amendment.
One of the lessons that we learn when we compare 1920 and 2020 is that voting rights is never a given. It's never a guarantee. It's not a done deal in the United States.